Labrīt visiem! Šķiet, ka kopumā Eiropā attiecībā uz ārvalstu studentu piesaisti nav viss tā sienu celšana, bet ir strateģiska raudzīšanās uz to, kā izmantot potenciālu, ko sniedz ārvalstu studenti ikvienā sabiedrībā, un arī pētījumā ir atspoguļots dažādas pieejas dažādās Eiropas valstīs ar tiešām ļoti strateģisku uzstādījumu, un tam līdzi nāk arī teiksim, tāds atbalsta infrastruktūra, kas ir saistīta gan ar valodas mācīšanos, gan sadarbību ar darba devējiem. Un arī Latvijā es teiktu, ka kopumā situācija ir uzlabojusies, un tomēr vēl joprojām ir pietiekoši daudz iespējas, uz kurām mēs pilnvērtīgi neesam paraudzījušies. Un šeit, domājot par to, ka mēs redzam sevi kā daļu no Eiropas, gan vērtības ziņā, gan politikas attīstības ziņā. Šī ir joma, kurā joprojām ir potenciāls izaugsmei, gan saistībā ar augstākās izglītības attīstību, gan talantu piesaisti, talantu migrācijas politiku. Aizvadītajā mācību gadā Latvijas augstskolās studēja 11,000 ārvalstu studentu, un katram tas varētu šķist vai nu daudz vai maz, tomēr šis skaits ir stabils, un universitātes to redz arī kā iespēju gan uzņēmēju darbībai, gan kā paplašināt to tēmu loku un daudzveidību, ko universitāte piedāvā. Taču vai mēs darām pietiekoši, lai tie absolventi, kuri būtu ieinteresēti strādāt Latvijā, lai viņi šeit arī faktiski varētu palikt. Arī man pašai ir bijusi iespēja ne tikai būt pētniecei šajā jomā, bet būt ārvalstu studentei gan Eiropas valstīs, gan ārpus Eiropas Savienības. Un es apzinos, cik svarīgi ir tā sajūta, ka kamēr tu atrodies kā students, ka tev ir viss nepieciešamais atbalsts, bet arī iespēja ieraudzīt karjeras izaugsmes iespējas attiecīgajā valstī. Pētījums, kuru šodien prezentēs autori, manuprāt, piedāvā atbildes uz dažiem no šiem jautājumiem. Es domāju, ka šie dati var kļūt par pamatu mērķtiecīgai politikai, talantu piesaistei. Mums nav jāizdomā visu no jauna, ir citas Eiropas valstis, no kuru piemēru mēs varam mācīties. Somija, piemēram, ir uzstādījusi mērķi, ka 75% ārvalstu studentu paliktu tur un iesaistītos darba tirgu Latvijā. Tas šobrīd ir ap 5%, kas paliek apmēram. Zana izstāstīs vairāk. Līdz ar to ir mēs redzam citās valstīs ļoti ambiciozus mērķus. Manuprāt, mums ir svarīgi paraudzīties uz šo iespēju, lai tas būtu tiešām sinerģijā ar darba tirgus vajadzībām, un lai arī mēs izdarītu visu iespējamo, lai šie studenti iemācītos latviešu valodu, lai viņi uzzinātu par to, kā funkcionē Latvijas sabiedrība, un lai justos šeit pieņemti, un lai Latvijas sabiedrība arī ieraudzītu šo potenciālu. Tāpēc es ceru, ka šodien prezentētie dati un arī vēlāk diskusijas būs kas tāds, kas virzīs šo sarunu soli uz priekšu saistībā ar politikas veidošanu. Paldies, un lai vērtīga konference.
Agnese, vai drīkst jums jautājumu, pirms jūs dabūnat mazu apbalvojumu? Kad jūs bijāt students, pareizi atceros Nīderlandē un Turcijā, ja? Sakiet, kas bija tas mirklis, kurā jūs sajūtāt, man liekas, ka tā valsts grib mani paturēt pie sevis? Iespējams, ka jūs pateicāt, paldies, es esmu, nezinu, man zvaigznēs rakstīts, es būšu kultūras ministre. Es negribu būt Turcijā, bet Latvijā. Bet kas ir tas, minimums, vai tā valoda, vai tas veids, kā jaunu cilvēku, es pieņēmu, jums tagad ir 18+, toreiz bija tikai 18, kādiem vārdiem valstī ir jāuzrunā, kopš mums tas ir kaut kas jauns. Mēs savā ziņā to mācamies. Varbūt ir kaut kas, ko var Latvijas valsts tikai nedara šitās kļūdas, izdara tās tīri kā cilvēks, tagad nevis kā valdības amatpersona.
Manā gadījumā abās situācijās, un arī Spānijā un Vācijā un Turcijā, tad tas vienmēr bija par universitātes piedāvāto atbalstu un informāciju. Nebija tā, ka valodu kursi visi notika tikai universitātē, bet es saņēmu ļoti skaidru atbalstu tam, ko es biju identificējis kā nepieciešamu, lai iemācītos vai nu holandiešu vai turku valodu, lai es zinātu, uz kurien doties, lai tas iekļautos manā studiju plānā. Taču vissvarīgākais visās situācijās, lai varētu tur palikt, bija zināšanas un prasmes, un to mēs redzam arī Latvijas gadījumā, ka darba devējiem, protams, interesē tās zināšanas, ko studenti iegūst, lai viņus piesaistītu darba tirgumu. Mēs vienmēr vēlamies justies noderīgi ar tām zināšanām, ko mēs esam ieguvuši, un tas droši vien ir arī atslēga, lai attiecīgās studiju programmas būtu atbilstošas mūsu darba tirgus vajadzībām, un tad tā papildu atbalsta infrastruktūra, kas ir valodas mācīšanās, vai Turcijā man bija svarīgi, lai palīdz atrast arī dzīvokli kā cilvēkam, kurš bija no pavisam citu konteksta, tad šie atbalsta instrumenti bija palīdzīgi, bet vienmēr galvenais, protams, ir prasmes.
Tad tagad nenožēlojat, ka jūs neatsaucāties toreiz tam viņu piedāvājumam. Viņi tomēr klāja jums galdu, vai jūs negribētu, Agnese, jūs esat tik forši, jūs te studējat un tā, un... Ne?
Es atbraucu atpakaļ uz Latviju ļoti mērķtiecīgi, es vēlējos pielietot savas prasmes šeit, bet Turcijā arī notika apvērsums, tā kā tur bija...
Izklausās, ka jums patīk demokrātija.
Sarežģījums.
Labi, varu saprast. Nīderlandē nav bijis apvērsums, bet tur ir karalis.
Nē.
Nīderlanda vienkārši pārapdzīvot valsts, es saprotu. Un jābrauc ar riteni katru dienu.
Bet Latvijā ir arī ļoti labi.
Protams, tāpēc jau mēs te esam. Protams, liels paldies. Agnese, nebeidziet prom, mums ir mazs piemiņas dāvinājums. Labi, paldies, Agnese, par tādiem sirsnīgiem ievadvārdiem, jo patiesībā, neapvainojoties, bet Zanes dēļ mēs atnācām. Viņa ir izdarījusi pētījumu pareizi. Mīļie vairākie kolēģi, bet ļausim šoreiz Zanē prezentēt viņu, un jūs turat īkšķas. Mēs pirms Zane nāk, mēs gribam paskatīties šo kontekstu, skaists salīdzinājums. Ziemeļvalsts, mēs jūs nedrīkstam saukt par Baltijas valsti, jo jūs, protams, apvainosties, kaut gan vēsture mums ir ļoti līdzīga. Mēs apmēram vienā laikā no Krievijas impērijas izrāvāmies, un tagad mums ir apmēram vienādas problēmas ar šo impēriju, vai ne? Bet mums citreiz liekas, ka jums ir tā kā prasmīgākas izvēles vai daudz konkrētāki veidi, kā jūs jau tā teikt esat paspējuši noformulēt, ka jūs zinat, ko jūs gribat. Mums rodas tāds iespējas šeit, Baltijas jūras vidusdaļā. Jums tur ziemeļos izskatās ir garāks tumšais laiks un vairāk laika, ko padomāt. Vai kā ir? Mika Raunio ir Somijas Migrācijas institūta vecākais pētnieks, un es pieņemu, ka mazliet tēvišķi gribējis paskatīties uz to, ko mēs mēģinām formulēt. Jūs jau esat atnākuši ar gataviem formulējumiem, jeb 21. gadsimts liek visu pārskatīt ik pa gadam.
So thank you, everyone, and thank you for the kind words. We have done something in Finland related to this, and as Minister said, it's not so much about the actual things and practices that you should kind of reinvent, because those are more or less done already in various places in different ways. And what I'm going to talk today is more like a process, how you change that whole system, like transforming immigration system for future skills. So that's kind of a topic of my speech. And I'm using this Talent Boost program. It's not only one, but I think it's quite relevant, especially when we think about this student and work-based, competence-based immigration. So it has been a really important part of this change, and it's kind of a tool how you can make systems different, which is usually very difficult because all the systems, they resist change, so you need specific tools to change the system. Otherwise, they just, if you have a new practice and you try to apply that, they just spit it out and use it continues as usual. So topic is today transforming in immigration system for future skills, and this is actually part of the just started this project, and we are doing that with VTT, Technological Research Center of Finland, and two Labor and VAT, that are economic research centers, and then Jyväskylä University, who is looking as a kind of a educational research center. And we are looking at this system very closely during the next 6 years. So this is one phase in developing and trying to change this system. But I'm starting from the beginning. And first, student immigration, it's this orange line, and you can see that it has been growing quite fast recently. It used to be quite low, quite a long time, but there has been some changes. I think 2015 it was discussed and decided that, okay, education is such a big thing in Finland that it should be kind of an export product, and we should try to sell it to the world. And actually 2017 it was decided that we need to have a fees for every foreign student who is coming outside of Finland. And that was kind of an incentive for the universities because they collected fees, but they also got funding if a student graduated, as is the normal way to fund universities. How many graduates you can produce, the more money you will get. So this was very good incentive, and it was a visible incentive in numbers as well. And these are kind of legal changes, and only in higher education system. And then in 2022, there was other, I think, important change when it was decided that when students come to Finland, they can have a permit to stay in Finland for the whole study period. It used to be so that you get only 1 year permit. And it seems that it was really important because number of applications rose very fast. I think it was much more attractive idea for the students to come to country where they know that they will stay like 4 years, and that also increased, as you see the family there. The family line is the highest. Actually, that's quite a lot because of this, that when this change was done, the students became a bit older and they came with their families. And this is also something that we always should remember, that it's not only students, but they are their families who are coming. And when you think about this, connecting them to your national system, like I like to talk about this value creation system, that is, we have businesses who use knowledge, or innovation system or value creation system, that we have businesses who use this knowledge, and we have higher education institutions that create this knowledge, and they should work together very well, which means in practice that people should be employed when they graduate. And this is, I think, a big dilemma. So, because our immigration system is basically based on students and workers and their families, of course we should change our immigration system somehow as well to respond this kind of a different kind of challenges, because it was made for more like quite low scale protection-based immigration, which is very different system. It has very different goals, it has very different actors and everything. So for this purpose, I think this Talent Boost program was established 2017. But it didn't come out of blue like that, but I think there are some tools that you need to build this kind of systemic change. And these are kind of very simplifications of those tools, but you need a good story, and then you need usually a kind of a vanguard or forerunners who are doing this work. So already 2000, there were actors who were talking about this, but it wasn't on the agenda at national level, I think, at all. But I think the one important actor was Nokia, that was saying that, okay, we need top talent, because there was a heyday of Nokia, and they had a biggest research centers in Finland, and they need to attract a kind of a very specific talent. So that woke up some politicians and especially people on the business side who really didn't see the connection between the immigration and business. And that was the kind of a first discussion early 2000. And when we had a lot of projects, individual projects that were focusing on labor immigration. Then we got our, there is that book that we wrote with Annika Forsander, and Annika Forsander was a researcher, but she became also the first immigration director in Finland. He was a director in Helsinki. And that was the first time when we had an immigration director that was somehow related to growth and economy and business and so. And instead of being kind of part of the social policy. So that was a really different thing. And then our first international house was established in Helsinki 2016. And I think that was also, I mean, Annika Forsander was active on that one, but also local Chamber of Commerce and some other individual actors. So there has been this kind of a bubbling under thing that some organizations, some individuals, and then some city regions, basically capital region in Finland, have been more active than others in this already kind of a long time. So we have these ideas and competencies, but not kind of a systemic change or system that could change these things for the students and employees who come to Finland. So in 2015, I think this was the report that we wrote for the Ministry of Economy and Employment. And these were kind of tools, concepts, and institutions. You need some concepts when you talk about these issues, that if this is something new, okay, what should we do? You should have a kind of a clear concept that, okay, this is how you could do it. And actually there was a lot of, the title was Immigration Policy of Innovation Economy. And it provided a lot of kind of examples, service concepts and experiences, especially from Canada and Sweden, who were partners in that research, because they are quite advanced on that field. But you never cannot actually bring any solutions from other country directly to your country, but you have to always kind of fix that to work in your own environment. And for example, in Canada, I think they had a lot of good practices, but they don't fit to Finland like that. And one of the big issues that I think we learned from there was that they have this Toronto region immigration employment council that has been quite effective, and it has been copied to some extent to Finland, to Sweden, and many countries. And it's based on the kind of private foundations activities, and it helps international employees to find a job in various ways. But the idea is, the main thing is not the practices, what they do. They are quite similar everywhere. But the point was that they had this council of 60 members, and half of them were like local business actors. I mean, bankers, big investors, big businesses, and second half was representatives of immigration associations, mostly professional associations or student associations, kind of a competence-based associations. And whenever they come up with some idea, okay, we have this idea, let's try it. It wasn't. It was directly, to actors who implemented that. They had agreed. So it was employers, it was immigrants. So it's not like, I think in Finland we quite often do so that we have some idea, then we take these ideas to public sector, and the public sector tells the employers that, hey, would you like to do something with these foreign students? And then they're kind of a middle managing there. But in Canada, it was direct contact, and I think that was useful, and I think that's something we have been trying to do with this Talent Boost program as well, but it's not so easy, I can tell. So, an important thing is, I remember when this was published in that event, and there was a head of the Ministry of Economy and Employment opening the event, and then he was saying the first sentence was that, okay, innovation and immigration I have never thought that they have something in common or something to do with each other, but now I do. So it was kind of an institutional change in practice when this head of the ministry was saying that, okay, these things are related, so that means that they should also do something in the ministry to put these things together and to act together. And that was kind of a first step. And I think this is also something that paved the way for the Talent Boost program. And this was set up in 2017. And there is another report that we wrote with VTT, and it was again kind of examples from the different countries, because it makes it much more easier to think, okay, what should we do? They are doing this and we are doing that. So what are kind of solutions that are working somewhere else? Although you always then have to do the work yourself. And I think the key issue in Talent Boost program, that these are key tools what you need when you try to change the system, that you need good programs and you need funding. I mean, there has been a huge amount of funding, basically mostly coming from the EU, like European Regional Development Fund or European Social Fund funding, and then you build up the program. That is like there was Talent Hub program that was building these kind of connections between the different actors. And I think for the Talent Boost program, the key issue has been that they brought together these key actors, the universities, higher education institutions, cities, employers, and also immigrants themselves and their communities and so, and they brought them together and tried to develop them. And it's kind of a one thing when you try to change the system, that you can tell people that, hey, you are part of this system and you have this kind of role. It's quite important role, and these are other actors who are members of this system, and maybe you should do something together in order to make these processes work. So I think this is kind of a big task. And you need to organize different kind of meetings and different kind of conferences and discussions, and you need the concepts and so on. But I think that's the main thing that Talent Boost program has been doing now almost 10 years, 8 years. And it's doing quite well. So, and when you have this kind of setup of actors who actually implement these things in practice, and they agree with you and they discuss with each other, you can really get something done. Because just giving policy recommendations or making policies or funding something is not maybe changing anything if people in those institutions and organizations do not change the practices, what they do daily, what they do with students, how they connect with the businesses and that kind of stuff. And there was a huge funding programs that focused mostly on the biggest city regions, because I think the limit was at the beginning so that the regions with more than 15,000 immigrants are included in order to be able to create some services and practices. And this Talent Hub program actually was meant to bring these actors together, and every region could organize themselves as they considered to be useful. And then it actually went down to the regional level in these projects, and because in practice not too many things are kind of a national level things, but everything happens somewhere. So it's very much depending on local actors how they want to organize their things and how they want to organize these kind of ecosystems, if you like. But these regional talent ecosystems were developed in different city regions. I think Helsinki region, capital region, was a bit ahead because they had these active actors there already, and they had done quite many things during the 2000, or starting from early 2000 already. But the second city like Tampere, which is actually fastest growing region in Finland, then, for example, started to build up this strategic program that is kind of a good tool to make a change, because it's kind of providing all these activities and proposals that we should engage with other actors of the ecosystem. And there is a kind of a picture of the ecosystem. The point is that you have this higher education institution in Tampere region, and then you have employers and business representatives, and then you have immigrant groups and so on, and other actors who provide these services, private and public. And you find who are actually involved to this process. And then there was quite many kind of meetings or workshops, as kind of a brainstorming events with these actors, that okay, what should we do together? And these actors signed kind of value proposals and service proposals. Okay, if we want to kind of promote this kind of goals, that we will get more international students and more international workers, and they would like to maybe stay here in Tampere. What should we do? And that includes, of course, schools for the children and daycare system and everything, because people come with their families. So actually all the kind of services in the region are somehow related. And then you have to find the ways to connect them to the system and think about what are the things that you want to change. And this is the process where this kind of a strategic program is very useful and helpful. Because I think in Finland it's still the case that, for example, students who come to Finland, it's depending on what and on what field, but about half are leaving the country. In technical fields, it's more. I think it's who stay. I mean, 60 to 70% will stay, but especially in humanistic fields, people quite eagerly tend to go back or change the country. So this kind of retention actions are different for the different groups, and but they requires the involvement of all these actors in the region. So like universities cannot do it by themselves, cities cannot do it by themselves. And I think there's also quite a lot of these kind of detailed level questions. We have these projects are quite good tool to, for example, to try to find a balance between the cities and universities. What is the task of the university and what is the task of the city when they provide these services? Like we had this SIMHE service that was kind of a guiding service for the students so that they can find employment and they can develop career paths. But also we have a lot of these kind of services at the public sector as well. So it takes some time to make these services really to serve the clients, also students and employers, and efficient way. So this is kind of a thing that you have to develop when you try to change the system. And at the national level, at this final stage, I think after that 7-8 years and some quite many actions related to talent boost as well, before that, and things that aimed to make Finland more kind of a pleasant and a receiving place for talent, are somehow now in the structures of our societal systems, I would say. And one thing is this very practical work in Finland service. And I think there is an important thing is that many of these services are they are for employers, and I think that has been the kind of a key point the whole time, that you cannot really change the system only by focusing on higher education institution or public sector, but actually it's employers who decide whether they want to hire people international students or not. And there are many practical these kind of a low-hanging fruits that are easy to pick. That it's usually well known that even during the training, during the studies, training opportunities are not so good for the international students, and other kind of interaction with employers is quite low. And we know that when people get employed, quite often it's somehow someone you know, or somebody knows someone, or you know the company or so. So these kind of practices where students are involved, any projects or work that relates to local employers is very important. But also these employers, at least in Finland, it seems that they need a lot of kind of a push to think that, okay, this is also opportunity, and they are not afraid of hiring, because practice is that people usually don't speak that good Finnish, or if they speak Finnish at all. So how these employers should deal with these issues. And actually we just made one research, and it seems that quite many employers in Finland had changed their language to English, which makes it easier already, if that's possible. It's not possible for every job. But it's, I think, one thing, and now we are at the point of this process where we should focus more and more on the capabilities of employers to make this change happen, because actually they are the ones who decide how this will go, because nobody cannot force them to hire anyone. And this Work in Finland service is very good in that sense, and it's basically organized that, for example, if you want to do international recruiting or so, it's a national service, but of course our government is not hiring or helping doing anything in this process, but they are only providing guidance, and they are providing information, and they are helping those private sector actors to create these ecosystems and organize themselves so that this recruiting can be done so that it's kind of easy for employers and they can trust the process, because the big problem is that, for example, in this case, that employers are a bit suspicious that this process may be difficult, or will there be some difficulties with permits and everything, because there has been a lot of discussion about this. So one thing when promoting this kind of change is to develop the competencies and capabilities of employers. And then there is also this international house, Tampere sign, and I think that was also an important thing, that we have these international houses now in the most biggest cities. The service concepts are a bit different, but they are serving employers and international students and international employees. And it's kind of a recognizable service compilation, that okay, here is international house. If I need something, I can go and ask. And they are kind of tools also for the development, that they are practical, they are physical places, and they have kind of a service offerings. And so and it kind of makes it visible and practical to provide these services, compared to different projects that we used to have like 10 years. There was always some project that comes and goes, which is very, very difficult, but these are kind of a more stable service providing environments. And then there is this Talent Boost Summit, which is also kind of important, because it gathers together all the mostly civil servants and university people, and not so many employers. Employers are too busy, but public sector actors are there, and it's always consolidating this idea that we have this kind of ecosystem, we have this kind of services, we should do that, and it's kind of creating a community that is very important for this change. Then the final stage at the moment is about analysis and development, so starting it all over. We are now starting with these research partners, this project called DREAM, transforming immigration system for future skills. And there will be a quite extensive analysis based on big data bases or at a register data and individual level, how these career paths are evolving in Finland. And we already know that, for example, if people come to Finland with work-based permit, their employment rate will be about 80 after 10 years. And that is higher than the employment rate of Finnish people. And if you come as a student, it's something like 70, which is quite close to Finnish people. And then if other categories are lower. But these kind of things should be known quite in detail in order to, or hope to kind of steer and develop this system. So this is kind of a phase where we are developing these kind of tools for analysis, and also policy implications, that we have certain kind of interventions done recently. For example, based related to citizenship, it will be 8 years time that you need to be in Finland in order to get citizenship. And these are related to our competence-based system, because people who come to Finland, they not maybe feel that home, or that they feel that they are not so much wanted there. So, okay, let's go somewhere else. Even though this is not directly meant to kind of change their life courses or so. But this is kind of a system that you should look at. And this bottom line is here that these transitions, that wherever people are coming, if the number of refugees, excluding Ukrainians, is quite low in Finland, but that's also important, that how all these paths will lead to this value creation, that means employment in Finland. But I think these analysis and development tools in this package to change your system are very important. They should be carefully developed. So thank you. I think that's it.